Italia!
Milan fans, hey, how are you doing? It's your host Shane from beautiful sunny Kenya out in his back garden with building repairs going on across the road, so you'll probably hear a lot of hammering. But anyway, yeah, so back with your host Shane, Hosni, obviously based in Malaysia, our buddy John over in the UK, and a very special guest, Gio, from coast to coast. Also, check him out on Milan Weekly Podcast, best Milan content on the interweb. So anyway, Hosni, how you been this week?
Yeah, been good, been good. So we're getting closer to the start season. Been excited, and we've had some games to talk about. But what's I guess more exciting is that we're trying to get a glimpse of how we're going to start the season, and hopefully it'll take us to silverware, if I can say that. So yeah, I mean, just to kick things off, one of the big games that we've had recently was actually the Berlusconi Cup, Silver Berlusconi Cup. Uh, that was in a way quite competitive, in my opinion. And we played Monza, a team that we did struggle against quite a bit in the league last season. So they definitely no pushovers. But we put up a strong lineup, in my opinion, and we played to win, and we did win eventually, thanks to penalties. But to get into the nuances and what actually happened during the game, yeah, I'm sure everyone here has their own opinions what happened. I'm just gonna start it off with you, John. In terms of the game against Monza, what do you think impressed you the most? Even though it was a draw at the 90 plus minute.
Yeah, so okay, bit of a tough game, but I expected that to be the case because Monza are well organized. They're quite a stable club, and they seem to have a quite decent manager. I was looking for that game. I was looking for us to play a formation and players in the correct positions. And once again, I saw what I didn't want to see, which was Pulisic on the right wing. I I know a lot of the fans are not going to like this, but I just don't think he belongs there, and I don't think he should be deployed there at all. Um, what I liked, right, probably the player that I liked again, did a few good moves, was the reindeer. He looks like he can go past players and start moves. I suspect that he's probably earning himself a starting position. Um, but what I didn't like is the fact that once again, our defense is being left completely open because we have no shield in front of it. And it's a problem that not just myself, but lots of the fans are seeing. And I just want to know, what the plan is going forward. We've had a bit of a discussion before this about Ruben Loftus-Cheek and what his true position will be. But I do want to know what you guys think of that, because I think defensively we do have a few gaps, and we can't start the season like this, in my opinion.
Okay. What do you think about that, Gio? Because that was quite competitive. We were actually playing for a trophy, and I think that will go in our cabinet. Well, at least I hope so, because I saw the guys lift it at the end. But yeah, as John mentioned, a big thing that Pulisic started on the right. I think he has to play because of all the hype around him, and it was quite competitive, in my opinion. As we get closer to the season, this is probably, if you agree with me, probably what we're going to start to look like. I mean, do you agree with that? I mean, were there some things that you thought were a bit out of place because we didn't cleanly take home like 3 points if it was a league game?
Well, Rock Nation, I've been saying that Pulisic can't start on the right since like the U.S. tour. We had a privilege to watch him in practice, and when Simic and Batazagi are bowling you in practice, and because that means it's not gonna work because those are two new guys coming in. We don't even know if they're gonna play. So to me, starting Pulisic on the right is not gonna work. And you saw what happened. As soon as he got in the middle, what happened? He created a penalty. I think he needs to play a 10 or a Camero, whichever you want to call it, or the new like Camero, which is a hybrid. And I think that's his best position because you saw on the right they were just double teaming him. They were taking out away the ball from him, and then he wasn't able to do anything. But as soon as he cut through the middle, he draws the penalty. And I don't know, like it can't just be. I don't know. I think like our deficiency right now, even though it is not having a defensive midfield, not protecting the defense, the biggest deficiency Milan has is Pioli. Because ever since he won the Scudetto, he thinks that his poop don't stink. He thinks he could do whatever he wants. He like you seen it all preseason. Pulisic on the right, nothing. When he was playing on the left, him and Pobega had a good chemistry. They were doing 1-2 passes. He was assisting Pobega. So now you see him on the right struggling, and you keep on putting him to be there. And that's what I seen. Like hopefully Chukwueze can come in and take that spot. But I think we had to revert to the 4-2-3-1 or whatever it's called. I'm not really too sure. So we could give him a spot so he can roam because he is the biggest marketing. I mean, in here in LA, like, come on, man, it was just crazy. They said that only 100 people could go see the practices, but they see the demand with Pulisic. They opened it to 300 to 400 people. So, he has to bang, to be honest with you, because if not, then all the revenue that Cardinale is counting right now, because everything is flying off the shelves if you don't see like home jerseys, everything with Pulisic, and they're actually selling them in the stores here in California, which is a chain. But Pioli, come on, get it together and put people in the right position. That's what my biggest gripe in Pioli. And when we discuss the other game, I'm gonna get into why Pioli is just a dumb person right now, and I very dislike him. I dislike him more than that Snake Krunic right now.
Okay, I mean, yeah, Joe, we've been talking a lot about Krunic before in the past episodes. So yeah, welcome all those viewers, and it's great to have you on the another continent. So we have 4 continents represented. So Shane, I mean, yeah, that's quite the statement, and we spoke quite a bit about the formation change because 43 is nothing new, by the way. We've seen it before. Initially, it seemed to work, but then somehow off clicked, if that's a proper term. The players just Liao seems to faded away, and it's affecting other players differently. So, what do you think of Pulisic in the 4-2-3-1 as you mentioned, and whether if we continue with this 4-3-3, is it worth having this trade off? Pulisic might be better, Liao might be worse. What do you think?
No, so I've been thinking an awful lot about the Pulisic signing. So I, I like Gio kind of said earlier, I don't see where he fits in if it's not in a cam role. Other than being a backup for Leao, and 20 million for a backup for Leao is quite a lot in our balance sheet at the moment, right? So what I would say though is there's two key takeaways I have so far about the squad. So one is Loftus Cheek. I think even though we've seen him go forward quite a bit in the last couple of games, I don't think that that's going to be the way it is during the season. I think the way that Loftus Cheek is, he's built like a unit. He's not going to be marauding forward, right? I think he's going to be our Kessie replacement that we were dying out for. And I think this is why we've been waiting so long for a CDM. Even if we get another one, we don't know. Because I think this our Loftus Cheek for me is going to be our CDM. It's just he's been given a lot of freedom because Pioli wants to see what he can do during a friendly. That makes sense to me, right? That's one. The second thing though, but just going back to Pulisic, it's kind of like, yeah, where do you play him? Because 4-2-3-1, that's where you're going to have the cam. 4-3-3, is it going to work? I don't think so, because I still think, us having 3 we don't have. We're hopeful on Reinders, we're hopeful on Loftus Cheek, but then who else are we hopeful on? Are we hopeful on Krunic? Are we hopeful on Pobega? I'm not sold on either of those being quality depth. Less so am I sold on Musa, because what I've seen from his Valencia days, he's a waste of space player. And I think there's far better places that we could spend 20 million on. However, yeah, interesting times ahead. But I think 4-2-3-1 just makes so much more sense to me. But let's see how it goes. Oh, and last thing, that Monza game. Did you see Loftus Cheek's penalty? It was the worst penalty that I ever seen a professional football player take, and he should be shot. Right? In it, I don't mean shot. I just mean slapped. No, I don't mean slapped. But seriously, he literally waited for the keeper to dive, right? And he just literally toe poked it straight into the center of the goal.
Okay,
It's like
yeah, still count.
99 times out of 100, you're not going to score those, you know?
Okay, I completely understand. But the blend, I want to raise this topic, and John, whether you have any opinions about the blend, because when I say the blend, meaning that you have established players who've been in the squad, they understand system, mostly played with the 4-2-3-1, little bit with the 4-3-3 because we did that for at the beginning of the season. But now we introduce so many new players. Yeah, I think it's many new players, players that have their own strengths in the other teams that they've been at, which they can't really bring in because we have, for example, like Pulisic, Leao is already on the left wing, so I think that spot is not really for Pulisic to take over unless absolutely necessary. But then we have players like Ruben Loftus Cheek, Musa, if you can say it. I talk about the blend and the team. Is there something wrong with the number of players that we'll be getting in, and based on what you saw Monza game or any other game before this, saying that should it be something slightly different, like not introducing everyone or too many players new all at once? Because something's not clicking. We're not scoring from open play, by the way.
Yeah, so I hope my mic is not muted. I'm okay, yeah.
No, not yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I'd say is that this has been pointed out on one of the other Milan podcasts, and I think it's a great point, which is uh, do you have trust that Pioli is going to integrate the new players in? We've got 7, 8 new signings, really, and they require careful integration into the squad. I'd say Romero, in the very first game he came on, he showed something immediately. To me, it doesn't matter. If you're good enough, you're good enough. I don't care how old you are. That there seems to be this attitude of, well, with Pioli, they're a certain age, they're not going to play. They're not really going to play. They're just going to be backups. And I think the team is probably more imbalanced than I have seen for quite a long time. Um, Now, I'd say, I think we all agree that by losing Kessie, we lost a lot of the midfield capability that we have because he paired so well with anyone that was put next to him. For God's sake, he made Bakayoko look good in that first season. It was quite something. But now I think we're quite imbalanced, and my real concern in all of this, I think the fan base is coming around to it as well, is that the weak point may not well be the number of players in the squad or the positions that we've got covered, but Pioli. And the fact that he's going to be screwing around with formations, is going to be screwing around with players in the wrong positions as well. And he's going to be picking incorrectly. I mean, I think just before this, we were talking about the lineup that is picked for this next friendly, and he just continues to do this. And I don't know how much the fan base are gonna keep making excuses for him. There will come a point where people will just he'll be exposed by managers who have more settled squads, who put them in their correct roles, which Pioli fails to do time and again. And I think we'll get picked out and we'll get picked off. So yeah, I'm actually I was very positive about the signings we made. I was one of the most positive people. Um, but from the matches I've seen, we either swamp the opposition and keep the ball in their box, or they just come at us like a massive wave. And there's no in between. There's no possession of the ball. It's not on that. And I blame that on Pioli. And he has not, I say it again, he has not integrated the talent appropriately. And we're now about 10 days away from the start of the season.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I agree with you, especially the case of Pioli. But I've been saying it for a while. It's refreshing to hear it from someone else so often. But Gio, yeah, about this team that we got and the selection and the build up, the players that we have, and how they perform over the past few games, because they've been quite a number of games now. So there is quite a lot to go on by in terms of how we expect them to perform. But there's those players, and I'm just raising the point again that what I mentioned before. We have new players, but also we have players that were around that didn't have so much game time. For example, like Adley, Pobega. Who else can I think of? Florenzi, I think got quite a bit of game time. So, do you think that there's going to be that healthy competition between the guys who you could say are established by the time they spend the club, not necessarily by the amount of games they've played, versus these guys who've come from other clubs. And I do consider Chelsea a big club, by the way, regardless of how they performed last season. Whether they are in somewhat of a conflict in terms of, okay, is this the right healthy competition we've got at the team, saying that if Ruben Loftus-Cheek doesn't make it, then we can have Musa maybe step up, maybe Pobega can do that role. I mean, do you see any of that?
I don't know. I think to me, like Pioli right now has his favorites, but going back on that Musa, like I wasn't very against it, but and then when I see Rovella out there for 18 million with an obligation to buy a loan obligation, I don't care if he's a Juven team, but I mean if you're gonna play a 4-3-3, he's a DM, but he's a DM, not a destructor. He's a DM that can hold the ball and dictate the play. He's that type of DM. He's like a deep line maker like Pirlo was. So when I see that, I'm like, bro, and then everybody's against it. I'm like, I don't know what you think you're gonna get from our 4-3-3 if nobody could destruct or dictate the game of the play. And to me, like Pioli with his comments yesterday that he wants to make Reindeers a DM, like what the? Why are you like limiting him as a player, bro? Like, didn't you see all the through passes he was playing to Giroud? But Giroud is so slow now because he's played like over 100 games in the last 2 years, and he doesn't get any rest. Like that's why he can't catch up to the play. I think right now, like we just have to pray that everybody does their job and we score and stuff like that. I don't want to go into the season. We got the 10 toughest games for the first 10 games. I don't want to go in there and then only get 12 points out of 30, and then we're not getting Champions League. And you know what that means. If we don't get Champions League money or more marketing that we get, then that means Leao's gone. That means Teo's gone. Well, Teo already, he's gone for sure next year. I don't think the manager is going to renew him because he's down to the last 2 years, and he's not going to bend over for Cardinale like he did Maldini. He's going to want the 7 million that PSG were offering him. And now that his brother's at PSG, I mean, I think he goes to PSG for like 120 million, to be honest with you. And Cardinale, he doesn't care what players you love, what attachment. He only cares about the money. He's basically like ruining like our childhood and stuff. I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 38 and I'm a Lakers fan, and I seen Kobe go through it. I see Magic Johnson be at the team, so maybe like my opinion is different. I seen Maldini, I seen Baresi. Like I didn't really get to see him that much, but I saw him for the last 2 years. Shout out to the Black Box back in the days. But like they just don't want us to have attachment. They want us to be like fake fans. Like, oh, just go for that atmosphere, drink beers before the game, eat some good pasta, and then just cheer on the team and don't care about the result. That's what Cardinale is. Like he just like doesn't care, man. If we like Tajani Reindeer say, like Tajani blows up this year. If a Premier League team brings in 110 million, Tajani he gone. Like that's the way that we're at right now. But to me, right now, I just pray, Husney, and I pray that somebody smacks up Pioli in the back of the head and tells them to play the players in the right position. Like let's go to that Trenta game. Luca Romero been balling as a right wing preseason. I seen him in practice. I said like, oh, all the lies coming out of the journalists saying that he's impressed in practice is true because he looked good in practice. He was tearing up Dale, and then he does that at Real Madrid, and then now versus Trenta, he put him at left wing. Are you drunk? I just need to understand. Are you drunk, or are you trying to have us lose hair, or are you trying to have me and Shane's beer budget go from $100 a weekend to $300 a weekend, and then we can't even get up on Sunday or Monday for work?
Okay, but just quick on before I got to Shane. In terms of the focus area, because we've always thought there's be a theme to a mercato. So last year it was, I think the theme was we should have an attacking player. They're never going to do the right wing, so I guess my expectations were low. But they brought in CDK for the cam role. This transfer window, I think the theme is more towards marketing. Yeah, try to get guys who can sell jerseys and they don't cost too much, and the maths of it might make sense. But what do you think the next theme is? Gio, just quickly now, what do you think the next theme for Mercato is?
What do you mean by that? The
So
next
it's like
team?
the next theme. what is the next idea behind the Mercato? What do you think the objectives will be? Because we've reinforced positions, I could say in almost every part of the squad. We even got a right wing this time. So for the next Mercato, be it you think in January or next year's next Mercato, what do you think the management are going to do next?
Oh, we're not getting nothing in January. That's been happening for the last 3 years. We're gonna get David. Hey, who would have known? Davis Vasquez, he goes to the championship and he saves two penalties. Who would have known that? Who would have known that? But to me, in January, we're not getting anybody. To me, I think striker is key. I think next year, if we only have a budget of 50 to 60 million, you spend it on a striker, to be honest with you. Giroud is not going to last long, personally. I seen him the whole preseason. I seen him like 3 times and for signatures, for photos, and the guy looks exhausted. He's what, 37, 38 years old, and
Yeah,
and,
he's
and
our age.
Pioli is playing, and Pioli is playing him. Like Pioli is playing him like the whole preseason when you could just see if Colombo is gonna be an okay player, yes or no. But to me, I think a next theme is gonna be a striker. And if Balogun isn't sold this summer, that's gonna be our striker. I think we'll spend the 50 million that Arsenal want next summer, to be honest with you, for more marketing. But he's actually a really good player. I like the way that he plays and stuff like that. But that's going to be
Okay.
the theme next summer: marketing and a striker.
All right. So Shane, depth. I think this is the right time to talk about depth. Yeah, we've spoken about the players, some of the guys that looking to break through into the first team. Hopefully, they cement their place and become, you could say, the Theo of their position. Yeah, so a guy who's, you could say, a bit unshakable in terms of selection, or he can pick himself. Yeah, during the lineup. What do you think is the state of our depth? Because last season I kept hearing all the time, yeah, we have this issue, no depth and all this, but now we have a flood of players, and I think based on the games that we've seen, do you already have a report card out for our depth and seeing that, are we okay now? Can we make it past like these bottom 10 teams?
So shout out to Christian and Paul KB in the chat.
Okay.
Christian actually came up with a good question. He was like, "Where do we see ourselves in the table?" So going back to your question in terms of depth, it's interesting for me. So I don't think Napoli have lost much. Except the centre back. I can never remember what his name is. I think he went to Bayern
Him.
Munich or something. That was a Kim, right? So Napoli haven't lost much. Inter arguably have lost a bit more. I think the question for me is, knowing that Napoli haven't lost much, if they recreate what they did last year, we're not going to finish first anyway. So the question is can we finish above Inter? And this is the question where the depth comes in. So overall, there is a leap in quality there. However, keep in mind that we're without our midfield that we had last year for 6 months of this season. So we're essentially starting off with a new midfield. That's the problem. That's the area of concern for me. So yes, the depth quality overall has gone up, especially in the attacking phase. Is it enough for us to be successful? I genuinely don't think so. Because we're going in with the handicap of having a whole new midfield, and we're kind of hoping that one of them will work out, maybe two of them. Just a quick question I'll start with you, maybe Hosni, right? What position do you see us finishing in?
I want to say at least fourth, because there's still quality within the team, and I do agree with you to an extent, Shane, that Pulisic is the sort of player that even if he doesn't start and he were to come off the bench, I think he can probably do something. I can't say that about Rebic, so there have been some upgrades. Those upgrades, I think, are enough to take us at least to the top four. Uh, of course, I want the Scudetto and the second star, but probably not going to happen as long as Pioli is around. So yeah, maybe as conservative, keep it at fourth place.
All right, cool. What about you, John?
It's a tough question, Shane. It's a really tough question. I'm kind of trying to weigh up the quality of the opposition. If no one comes in and rips apart Napoli, which I'm still hoping so hard that somebody will come in and rip Osimhen out of that squad, or Kvara, especially since Spurs now have 100 million burning a hole in their pocket. Um, I'm hoping that somebody goes and does that, but they've got no European football, so don't know if they'll go, or maybe Saudi. But if nobody touches, honestly, if nobody touches Napoli, the biggest thing about Napoli is that they've changed manager. So that's the biggest thing I'd say. But I think they've got a squad to finish above us. Now, Juve have lost a lot of players, and their manager is horrendous, playing prehistoric football. So I want to believe that, but they will beat everyone in the bottom side of the table, which we historically can't do. And that's where they pick up all of their points. That's the other thing, right? And then there's Inter. Inter are like Jekyll and Hyde. They are buying players. I don't know how, but they are now desperately looking for a striker, aren't they? And they are going after the exact same targets that we have been linked with. So that Taremi and Arnautovic as well. You know, those kind of strikers. So I'm gonna guess third place. That's where I'm gonna guess, Shane, because I think we have strengthened in attack. And to your question, Husney, where have we strengthened the most? You know where I think we've strengthened the most? Left wing. Exactly where we needed it. We've got so many left wingers that we can spare some. But I think we've weakened massively in centre midfield. That's my problem. And so please, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, watch this video,
So-
prove me wrong.
Hey, sorry, Fabio's in the chat. Is that so? Did Ashimin just re-sign with Napoli for 10 million a year?
Yeah, I think he did.
Is that
Yes.
true?
With a
Oh my,
150 release, I think.
oh my days!
Really? Let's
Yeah,
have a look at this one.
this season just got a bit more difficult. Okay. What about you, Gio? So where do you think we're going to finish this season?
I'm gonna do a bold prediction. I think we finish second unless we don't gel. But I'm gonna say we win Champions League. I think we had a team like 2018, 2019 Liverpool, where they
Gio,
were
that's
just full on.
impressive, man.
That was just full on attack, and I think
Someone
if
clip this.
Pioli and if Pioli takes his foot up his ass out and he puts Okafor at top, he could play the Firmino role. And Firmino was good at giving assists and chipping in with like 10 goals, but he was in there chipping in with 10, 12 assists. And that's what Okafor game is. He's look at his stats. He's more an assistant than goal scoring. So then that means Leao can score like 20 goals, and then Chukwueze, if he's the real deal, Holyfield, he could chip in with 15, and he also likes to assist. But I mean, it's up to Pioli. I think our team is like that. Look at that Liverpool team. Just look at that Liverpool team. They were just a heavy metal football. If we could play heavy metal football, we could catch anybody on a good time. Look, we beat Spurs, and like I've been telling people, this Champions League like teams are not really that like besides Real Madrid, Bayern Munich who just got stronger. I don't even trust Barcelona because Xavi's a bum in Europe, to be honest with you. So like Real Madrid, Manchester City are the only ones that and Bayern, those three teams. But besides those other three teams, like Arsenal haven't been in Champions League 7 years. Newcastle, in there. Union Berlin. You think we can't beat up on Union Berlin and go and then drink beers right after the game? So just look at the teams that are in the Champions League and they're not really as strong. And I feel like if we go on a run in Champions League and everybody stays healthy and Pioli plays the right players, then I think we could go with that heavy metal. You could clip me, you could tell me I'm delusional, but I've seen it. Liverpool didn't really have that much. I think they finished second in the league or third, but they won the Champions League and they played heavy metal football. I don't know if Pioli could play it. I'm saying if Pioli plays the right players, we could probably win it. To be honest.
Okay, I want to pose a scenario here, yeah, because this is a scenario that we face so many times, and I think we continue to struggle with. And I want to ask Gio first, because for what he spoke about with Okafor, we play against teams in CRR, especially those lower ranked teams that love to park 11 players inside the box. Personally, I don't think Okafor will survive in situations like that. Neither I think will Pulisic. So how do you think we will still have the same issues that we've had in past few seasons with these players when we see that sort of game plan from the opposing team?
I mean, no, the Okafor is good at breaking down low blocks, hasn't he? That's what they saying on the reporting. So we'll see. To me, I don't know. I mean, everything puts around like our season is lingering on Pioli, hasn't he? That's the thing that I'm most dissatisfied about. What are you seeing that we don't see on the pitch? Like I could tell you that Pulisic looks horrible. I'd do a better job at right wing, if I was a right winger. But like it's gonna come down to Pioli. I mean, people might say that I might hate on Pioli and everything, but it's gonna come down to him. Please do us a solid. Like, do us a solid. Play box to box midfielders. The only thing that I really like about Musa is that he's fast and he can recover balls. That's it. But to me, it's gonna come down to the man uh getting free off white and has a bald head and think he's Pep Guardiola.
Okay. Okay. So Shane, in terms of yeah, when we talk about the managerial, and I just want to ask about the biggest change that we've had other than the players that have come on is actually about how we're doing things now. Yeah. So one of it was, and just relating to what Gio mentioned, Pioli now has a bigger say. Apparently he didn't have any say, or he had very little say what happened before, but now he has a very significant say in terms of the players that have come in. Based on what you've seen, do you think this is true? I mean, do you think our management, what they've told us in terms of how this team will, or this club will be managed, are they true to their word, or do you think that it's completely gone out the window and we're doing something completely different?
Oh no, so I agree. Sorry, Fabio's comment was great. Okafor ain't starting. Pioli saw him talking to Adley, so it's over. No, so I said this a couple of podcasts ago, where where they came out with the spiel after they sacked Maldini, and they basically said, "Oh, we're going to go with this, holy trinity of Pioli, Moncada, and the bearded 5-year-old Forlani." So the great thing about that is there's nowhere that anyone can hide if they're not doing their job, and that goes for Forlani, that goes for Moncada, and that goes for Pioli. I have trust in Moncada's ability because even before here, he's the same guy that discovered, the likes of
Kalulu, yeah.
Mbappe, discovered Kalulu. I mean, he's track record, right? Even in his Monaco days, he discovered some great players. So I have full trust in his capabilities. Forlani, well, he's given us a lot in terms of quantity. None of these are, except with maybe Pulisic, none of these are really, well-established players. They are gambles, I think, and this is why I think an awful lot of people that are kind of saying, "Oh, we're going to win the Scudetto," I disagree because these are gambles. So yeah, because there's nowhere to hide now for anyone in the management team. I think it's going to be the axe is going to fall on Pioli, and it's going to fall pretty quickly. Let us not delude ourselves, though, that we're going to get a manager of quality to replace him. It's going to be someone who's, relatively successful at a smaller club. I can see that because this team is, they're not going to act quickly. I can, if he's here past December, I'll be fairly surprised.
Okay. So following on from that question, and I think it
Rock
might be,
Nation, before you go, sorry to
yeah.
interrupt you. I sent you the lineup and it just made me throw up, man. This guy Pioli, bro, I'm trying to say that you gonna win Champions League, but get your head out your ass, man. I'm trying to say we got the team, we got heavy metal football, but you just I don't know, bro. Come on, Pulisic again on the right wing. This is an old story, man. What's going
Okay.
on here? And where is
So
Fabio chatting that you're seeing all these messages?
it's on YouTube. Yeah, it's on YouTube.
It's on the YouTube, on the live chat on YouTube. I
So
thought apparently I just want to be 100% here, Fabio. I like America. I like everyone. Well, in fact, I don't like anyone. Life is a lot easier that way. If you don't like anyone, it's great because no one disappoints you. But no. But the thing is, I don't mind Americans. I just don't like Cardinale. But Musa, to me, just as a player, he's not that good. I don't see any quality in this player, and it's just a waste of 20 million.
okay. So I mean, talking about the manager, and yeah, even John has mentioned it. So I'm going to ask John this question. It may be a bit early to start thinking of this because a lot of fans have, even myself, maybe given Pioli a little bit more time, considering the signings that he's had a say in the making. Are you already thinking of names, John? And if so, which are the names that you think are realistic that can probably take over and immediately have the effect that Pioli did after Gianpaolo, keeping in mind that the bar wasn't high in the first place?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Thinking, is it Italiano? I'm just trying to think what his name was. Just trying to think. Who's the Monza? Who's the Monza manager? There's a lot of good stuff said
Oh,
about him.
Palladino, my guy, my guy. I've been
Paladino,
talking
right?
about
He
it for
seems.
like a year and a half, a year. My
I'm
bad.
not. Yeah. So see, what I'm not asking for a genius here. I'm not asking for someone who's going to revolutionize football. I'm asking for someone who very simply puts people in the correct position. What is wrong with selecting on the right wing from Romero or Chucky? Starting Romero or Chucky. What is wrong with an attacking midfielder going with Pulisic or Adley or Reindeers? What is wrong with a left wing starting with a choice of Leao or even Pulisic? And the front, what's wrong with selecting between Giroud and Okafor? This is really quite simple, right? The joke we have in the chat is that you could literally ask ChatGPT to select a squad and it would do a better job than Pioli is doing. And for central midfield, why not say you got Pobega there, you've got Krunic there, you've got people that are and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, right? So why don't you try people in the right position and see what happens? It might actually be surprisingly good. But the way this has always started is he starts people in the wrong places, they underperform, we go a goal down, and this is the other thing that God it annoys me about Pioli. He, even though it's a friendly, he will not touch subs until we go a goal down. I want to kill the guy for doing that every single game.
I think
I
this video is gonna get
seriously,
censored.
right, okay. Put a horse's head in his bed. I don't know what way you want to put it, dude. But
While the
this
horse is
needs to
alive.
be, honestly, what is wrong with such a simple process? So yeah, you're right, Gio. The Monza manager he looks like he picks the players in the right spot, but I don't think it's a genius that we need in place. I'm not asking for someone that plays, as you said, like the Klopp style football that will batter everybody, or Guardiola that will pass you off the park. I'm not asking for a revolution. I'm simply asking for someone who's humble enough to say, I don't know how to do this better. I'm going to put the players in their correct positions. Pulisic should not be starting on the right wing. We have now players to start on the right wing. So start them and let's see what they can do. If they don't perform, go back to your rubbish if you want to do that. But please give us something to, because what did I say, right? We want players to come in early in the market so they've got a full summer to be integrated into the squad. Didn't I say that? I said that. And what does he do? He integrates them in the wrong place. I just seriously, I'm a loss for words. And that lineup is a joke. And it just stop it now, Pioli. I wish I could had him in front of me right now. I swear, slap him one.
What's that kid that's been filling in for Teo on the left?
Patasagi,
He
Patasagi.
looks very promising to
Yeah,
me.
but you know what the thing is to me on that, Shane? Like they just shipped out Bolazani, who has a similar play style to Theo. He's quick, he's fast. He needs to work on his defending. And to me, that's why I wanted Parisi, but I guess we don't like real Italians. He Fiorentina got him for 10 million, and he has the same playing style as Theo. I'm not saying that he's gonna be better than Theo, but that means like if we sit Theo down, we could still play the same type of ball that we're playing. You know, Theo up high on the pitch, Calabria staying back, and stuff like that. But to me, Batazagi is just like a I don't think he could go up and down the wing. and I think Theo is one of the ones that is like our offensive outlet. To be honest with you, but I don't know. But I like Simic and him. Hopefully they get some game time because I think if this Cardinale project gonna work, we need to bring up Primavera because I don't want to hear us spending more and more 500K here, 500K there, and not giving these young kids a chance. If the Bundesliga could do it, why can't we? You know, to be honest with you.
Fabio,
Yeah, but
Fabio
you know
is
what
smashing you,
happens
Gio.
though. Oh,
Um,
Fabio's destroying you in the chat, man.
he is, man. He is. He's absolutely smashing you.
No,
I
but you know
love
what the
horses.
problem
I love
is.
horses, guys.
What the problem is though is that Pioli does this. It's like we've only found out that Kalulu is a relatively good quality player, and um, Chow was a good, relatively good quality player just because someone else got injured. That was it. It's not because like there was a plan to bring them on. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of youth, yeah, I think we seriously need to be looking at someone else here. Not saying Pioli out. Again, he's been given everything that he's asked for this window, but yeah, I we need someone who's a bit more dependent on youth and is not afraid to use them and use them sensibly. Not like he did with Lazetic, putting him on for what was it like? I think we were losing. Was it to Spezia? And then he went to two up front, and then he put like Lazetic on for the last 10 minutes. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, but
Like,
if I remember that game, Lazetic actually, I think he had a chance towards the end. Yeah, but I think had he been of any decent quality, he might have put that away. But okay,
yeah, but
that's in the
there's
past.
time to bring kids on. You don't bring them on in high pressure like situations because what are you doing? You're essentially going, oh, you have to do it, and if you don't do it now, you're nowhere near good enough. I mean, there was plenty of times where we were up 2 goals, 3 goals at points there last season, and it's like he just kept to the same players, and you're going,
Okay.
come on, that's when you bring him on, man.
But I want to ask you, Shane. So yes, I completely agree with you. But there are, as I think you've, in a way, you've mentioned it. There are certain opportunities that we should utilize our youth. In the past campaign, we didn't utilize our youth during the Copa. Hence, we got knocked out in the first round. I think that team was completely, you could say, out of it. Yeah. So I think we lost to Torino, that we got kicked out of that first round. So do you, other than the Copa, and I hope we also have another good run in the youth league, do you think there's another big opportunity or big run of games that you think our young players, be it Primavera or the guys that you could say almost rotting on the bench, hashtag free Adley, uh, do you think they're going to get those opportunities this season?
That's a
Because we've
great
seen it
question.
in the preseason. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they're getting more opportunities in preseason compared to previous preseasons. So do you think this will be the time of police? Fine, then I'll finally do it.
I know what I said. I know what. Oh man, I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite here because I know what I said in my last comments about there's times you can bring them on, but there's also that caveat where we struggled an awful lot, um, like against the teams who are in the bottom half of the table last year.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's just because of our style of football. Basically, if the opposing team has a low block where we kind of ran into problems, hopefully with the introduction of Chukwueze, that loosens things up a bit. If there's a point where we're 3 goals up though against a team that's in the last 5 or 6 of the league, man, you have to. If there's like 10 minutes to go and it's 3 goals up, you have to start bringing on youth. Do I see it happening? It goes back to your depth question. Is this increase in depth that we now have, is it going to be, is it going to bring us over the line and, make us go ahead? But I would like to say yes. I'm not confident about it though. And it's the reason why I'm not confident about it is not just because we struggle against teams with a low block, but I just think it's purely.
Okay. But I want to ask John this question, and it's in terms of the youth, because I think personally, I think our Primavera has a life of its own. Yeah, so they did quite well in the youth league. In the actual Primavera league, it was, I think, not so great at all. So we were like, you could say, almost like Sassuolo level, that sort of mid-table sort of performance where we should try to win it. But interestingly, the teams that don't do well in the senior league are doing quite well in the Primavera. So I honestly don't know how it goes. But do you think that our Primavera has, a bright future this coming season? Considering that what you've seen, the Primavera, I think they now have more opportunities. I think the next game also, they should ideally have some minutes. I know it seems to be quite a senior lineup. So, I mean, putting aside our first team, what are your expectations for Primavera? Will there be another, in short, will there be another youth league run? Because that was, I think, almost the stuff of dreams.
Oh man, come on. So first of all, the expert on the youth is Gio. Everyone knows that.
But you've seen some of the players. I know you've seen
I
some that
have
stood
seen
out.
some of the I've seen some of the players, but I'll tell you, I think we've got the squad not to have to rely on those players. And I think that's the God. So look, so the youth team last season almost got relegated, right? In their own league, right? So the
Yeah.
Primavera team really did struggle. They made a great cup run, but yeah, okay. I think we shouldn't have to rely. Shane, yes, if we're 2, 3 goals up, but when the hell is our squad 2, 3 goals up against anybody? We generally go 1-0 down and maybe turn it around in the last 10 minutes or against anybody. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, we beat Napoli 4-0. Reminder to the Napoli fans out there, we battered you. We could have put out the youth then. That would have been hilarious. But we don't generally do that. So yeah, sure. If we go lots of goals up, bring them on. No sweat whatsoever. In the Italian Cup, I think we have to use the full squad, right? In the Italian Cup, we do have to do that. And in the Champions League, we just need to make money to go as far as possible. That's the way I see it. But again, I'm sorry to sound like a broken record. I don't think we have a manager that can be relied on to integrate youth. Simple. He does not integrate youth. That's what we've seen from last season onwards. He doesn't integrate any new players well, uh, and that's they have to literally break through. And like Chow, guys, why did Chow come on? Is it because he was promising in training, or was it because someone got an injury?
I think it was
Yeah,
Kier
you
got
got it.
injured. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mm.
think that's how this guy works. He literally is like, oh, I'm desperate. I'm scrabbling around. Let's find another body to put in place. Oh, look, you'll do. You're tall. That's,
Mm.
that's how simple I think he works. I hate to be. Everyone's going to see me a purely hater. Yes, I am actually. I don't like the guy. I'll
I
take
just think he's
Italiano.
he's limited, man. This is the problem. It's not. There's no dislike for the guy, and he did bring us to 19th Scudetto. But I just think it's at a certain. Everyone has a ceiling, right? And I have a feeling we're at it. You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, I
Wow.
have.
Musa. Musa. Fabio's saying that Musa's going to ball.
Yeah.
I hope you're right, Fabio. I really hope you're right, mate.
I have some specific questions for Gio because yeah, you know the youth team quite well. There's two names that I want to raise up. Yeah, one is Chaka Traore, a kid that I think somewhat. Could you say? Yeah, I think you could say he's one of the pillars of that youth league run of last season, and it seems that this coming season he might have his big break of being featured in the first team. Whether he plays or not, yeah, I think as John mentioned, maybe it's down to purely whether we'll actually see him kick the ball on the Sierra competitive pitch. But another kid who I thought was ready last season, Kobis, he was I think named in the Champions League squad, but of course didn't get minutes at the group stage. So there are those shoots, but I mean, what's happening to them? We've brought in so many players. Is this it? Can we consider those players, out the same route as our rest of Primavera to Sierra C side, Sierra B? Maybe don't make it. We'll sell them for cheap. Then we're gonna just, you know, recycle some other players and put them in. Is that the project? Do you think that's what's gonna happen?
Look, a lot of our youth products are playing at Inter, at Juve. Like, let's be honest, we just don't want to give them time. But that's what I'm trying to see. Like, Cardinale, okay, we just beat Sporting, Benfica, and Ajax for that Polish kid, right? We paid five. Oh, I think we played close to 1 million. In 2 years,
Yeah.
he should
Yeah.
be ready to go. He should be ready to go. 16, 18. That's the thing that why can BVB compete for a league and start a 16-year-old, or why can Bayern Munich, one of the top European clubs, they've been starting Musiala for the last 3 years at 16, 17, 18. Now he's 19. Why can't we do that? But you see, he's surrounded by veterans. So right now, we're struggling for a DM, right? Victor Iluto is right there. Do we know if he's ready or not? He had a good U20 World Cup. Everybody went crazy for Luca Romero's shot. Remember U20 World Cup? He's right there. Now you put him with reindeers and you put him with Loftus Cheek and you put him with the first team, then he can grow. He's gonna make mistakes, but he's gonna grow. But to me, the only thing I'm not gonna trash on Luca Romero because I see that he's talented. But the Paraguayan assassin is ready. He's 6'1", 6'2". He can dribble. He has skills. I mean, he's 18 years old. I mean, he's tall. I don't know. I don't know how you can just bypass everybody and just be like, okay, we signed Luca Romero. He's first teamer, and then we still have to put him as Primavera. And to be honest with you, a lot of people are gonna say, Gio, you're delusional. You're this, you're that. Okay, Lewis Hall from Chelsea, we ripped him up in the youth league. But now this year, he's getting a chance to play with the first team. So what's the difference? We smoked them in a pack, and now he's getting a chance, but our Primavera players have to stay down there. So what's the difference? So I want to see anybody that says that I'm crazy, this and this. Why can Lewis Hall play, but Cuenca can't even get like 2 10 minutes? And a lot of people were hating on Mourinho that he didn't start the youth. But the last 10 games, he was bringing up a lot of primo. They're gonna say because they were injured, but he doesn't really like to put young players in, but he put a lot of youth players in, to give them a chance. And then that's how to see. But I don't think Pioli wants to give him a chance. I mean, maybe if he was American, Cuenca was born in Miami or something like that, maybe he might get a chance for marketing. To be honest with you, but I think Cuenca, Simic, you seen, he's good. He's ready, and he's built. He has a build. I mean, Bacone now. I mean, shoot, him and Jimenez. I think Jimenez, man, in like hopefully by next year he's our starting right back. I love Calabria, but boy, him and Theo would rip up the league. You see how much pace? You saw the video of Jimenez, right? He covered like so much space you guys seen the video on Twitter, on Facebook. So hopefully we have a lot of talent, but now it's time to give them a chance because I don't want to keep on spending 500K here, 500K, and then we're not going to give anybody a chance. Look at Sebastiano De Planches, had a good U20 World Cup. Palermo bought him for 4 million. We got 1.2. We've had so many good goalkeepers, and Yondell, De Planches, Lupo Nava looks good, but we're just selling. And then look at Darmian has done good. Deschilio done good. Look at Locatelli. All these guys are playing in Serie A that come out of but we don't want to give them a chance. You could say that they're bums or not. Fabio got his agenda with the American Dream Team, but I don't. I see how it is.
Okay. Uh, yeah, Shane, on this topic, yeah, and I do want to mention it quite a bit. A lot of people might disagree with me. I thought Gabia, in as a whole, in his career with Milan, I thought he did quite all right. He was a big part of the unbeaten run that he had, partnering with Romagnoli. But where I think a big part of the fan base turned against him was during that game in Fiorentina, and he didn't quite recover. I know he played that game in the Champions League, and I think in the first time we played Juventus last season, I think he featured in that. Or was it the second game against Juventus? I don't remember. So is it a case because of our young players, and the state that they are maybe mentally a bit fragile? All it takes is one bad performance, and the fan base and maybe even the management are going to try to chase these players out, and are completely done for. Do you think that's the problem that we have at the club?
Yeah, I think an awful lot of the fans are guilty of this. It seems if they're homegrown, they're willing to give them far less time than the likes of CDK. right? So if CDK came up through the academy, and let's say he was starting, I think people would be a bit more, they'd be a bit more willing to be patient. um, but or sorry, they'd be far less patient, I should say. And it seems, and I think that's kind of a hangover from, well, it's related to our financial policy, I think, really, because we all know that we can't be spending 50, 60 million on players now, or like CDK was a very big purchase for us, right? But I think, yeah, people just tend to have far less patience when it comes to the academy players, and I think it's something we need to kind of lose. Um, I just want to bring up one player that this is, I think, was it Sempre Milan covered this. So they're looking at a player from Norwich. He's a Republic of Ireland player, and he looks very promising. I'm surprised he's not playing for a bigger team in England right now. Omoba Medele. Sorry, I hope I didn't crucify that name. But he's a centre back. He's built like a unit. He's kind of plays a bit like Tamori, but he's a good quality player. So if he comes in, right, he'll be given more time than one of our Primavera guys will, like Simic, which is a shame. Because from what I've seen is I really like Simic and I'd like him to play a bit more. But they'll probably go for this guy from Norwich, which I wouldn't be against, but he'll have a bit more patience if they buy him from Norwich versus Simic. If Simic makes one mistake, like Gabia, fans roll all over him. So we can't have it two ways though, guys, either. If we're going this money ball approach, you know, you have to understand we have to pull these, low value players from somewhere. What better place to do that than the Primavera? So
Okay,
yeah.
but with what you said, and that player from Norwich, sorry, I don't remember his name. Uh, I have an opinion on this matter. Yeah, I think it's easier, as difficult as it is. I think it's easier for players who are attack minded to get a chance at our club rather than defenders. I mean, defenders, you have to wait until someone goes down severely. Then only then you're gonna get a big break. I mean, Shane, do you agree with that? Because I want to throw a name here that I think was an opportunity we completely missed out on. Because okay, I'm gonna pin this on Pioli. He cannot guarantee this kid any game time, and this is Milos Kerkez. He was the guy in the running to be the backup to Theo. I thought he should have had at least some games. I know it's Primavera. At that time, the Primavera weren't so hot. I admit it, yeah, but it doesn't mean that you got to pin it all on this guy. He decided to leave. He's now with AZ Alkmaar, I think, and linked to other clubs as well. We have a resale clause, but I think he did well. So when I say he did well, meaning that he has a place in the team. So, do you think that this is a bigger problem? Saying that okay, we acknowledge that there's some positions that, especially coming to our defense now, I think uh, probably need more attention. But it's tougher to get players into those positions or to give them chance for younger players because this is how we are, And Pioli says that he's a defender from by trade, and this is how he thinks and all that, which I think is absolute BS. He just wants somewhere to put Krunic in. So, is this a problem? Do you think we have this problem in the club?
Yeah, I do. I completely agree. I think, and it just goes back to what I said earlier about, Kalulu. We still wouldn't know anything about Kalulu. He might be getting sold to some team in France for 2 million euros this season. If I think was it Calabria got injured. Here, I can't remember who he
No,
came in for first.
our whole defense like got injured. So like our whole center backs, yeah, he came on and that was it.
And it's the same thing with Chow as well. Like, I mean, he came on, uh, you know, people didn't really rate him. He wasn't being given a chance, but next thing, he'd come on tail end of the game, did really well. Next thing he's like, oh, he's pushing to become a starter. I think this is, pure Pioli. And this again is why I don't think he's going to last past December. I think even if we go through a bad run of results, it won't be the excuse. Management will give the excuse that it's like, oh, it's not just a bad run of results, but it's also the fact that he didn't integrate the youth players, and this is where I see it going.
Okay. I want to pose a similar question to John, and I think it has to do with the rotations as well, yeah? Because we're talking about rotations not only for youth team, but maybe for our bench. Where would you like? How would you like to see these rotations going? Because we could have a player that okay, let's say for example, because Benacer is out, we're starting Reindeers, for example, and Reindeers might be doing well, but as soon as Benacer is back, and it might take him some while to get up to form, We don't see reindeers anymore after that. That could happen. So what do you think we need to do, and how do we integrate these players? Because if it happens that they're playing well and you leave them on the bench, I think this is sending the wrong message.
Yeah. So we really need competition for places. We've got the players to be able to enable that to happen. So if anybody falls out of form, then we do actually have the squad. And I said this about last year as well. We did have the squad as well. It was just we were always looking like we were always using the same 12 to 15 players, so it's like you have your starting 11, and then you always bring in the same subs at the same time. Very little formation, very little player changes unless they were forced by injuries. We've got, if you want to include the youth team and these younger players that are coming in, and you've named several names that we've seen even in friendlies, we do have the players to have true competition within the squad for every position. We do have that. So, if Giroud is actually exhausted, as Gio said, he's the one that's seen him, but this guy has played so many games. Rest him for God's sake, and try someone else. And I hate to say it, guys. I need to hate bringing this up, but Origi is still in our squad. Even we do have bodies to try, and on right wing we do have players. We've got multiple players now. You've got, has everyone forgotten? The third choice probably now, or maybe second choice, is salad maker. But you've got Chucky, you've got Romero that can start on the right wing, and salad maker.
Krunic.
Oh God, don't please. No, not on right wing. Come on,
Oh,
man.
he
You're
did
gonna say
last
Krunic.
season. He
You're
did on
gonna
right
say
wing.
Krunic everywhere, aren't you? You're gonna say Krunic everywhere. No, we've got the ability to actually have true competition for every position, which gets us in a right Origi out. Liban, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Origi out, but how the hell do we get him out? Um, that's the big question: is how the hell do we get this guy out of the club? 4 million till 2026, man. Can't keep doing this. Um, but we can actually have true competition in these places uh, with the right squad rotation and competition. We also are now in enough competitions that we should be using true squad rotation, not what we saw last year where it was like, oh, we're doing quite well in the Champions League. Let's just degrade the entire squad massively, ensuring that we lose in Serie A. We shouldn't have to kind of do that this time. We should be able to go much, much stronger at teams. And I hope, and guys, I've seen it. I'm getting a lot of stick here for saying Italiano and so on. All I'm asking for is a human being as a manager who sees players for where they belong. In fact, Gio, why don't you go for it, please? Be our manager for a season. Let's see what happens when the youth is integrated. I'll take that. I'll vote for you.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we had the hour mark. So yeah, just some things to round up. I guess it's the final question, and start with Gio. So we have a few more weeks. Yeah. So and a few more weeks left. No, very few. Yeah, very few weeks until end of the mercato, and we're about to start the season soon. What cards do you think this management has left to play in terms of maybe signings? And I think there definitely has to be some outgoings. But what do you think they have up their sleeve? Do you think any surprises, or we've seen it all?
I mean, somebody said, like, we did a Twitter space yesterday, and somebody said that Lukaku's coming on the last day. So I mean, but I just feel that the management is with striker, but is he gonna start whatever striker that we had? How many more? I don't know how many years that Giroud has left on the contract, but I don't think there'll be a starting till he's off as a free agent. To be honest with you, but I don't know what they have. I don't know what they have up their sleeve. To be honest with you, but to me, like Shane said, like if we get that kid that's like from Norwich, like that means Simic is gone, and I think now it's time for us to start giving us. And you know what happened with Gabriel? I'm gonna be real with you. What happened with Gabriel is what's happening to Tamori right now is that they don't have a set partnership. You're gonna see if Chow or Tamori doesn't get injured, you're gonna see them have more continuity, and then you're gonna see like, okay, you know what, tomorrow goes up, I stay back. So they're gonna know each other. They've been chopping and changing. Kaya, he's then Timor, then Kalulu, then So now we're gonna first see the
Soon
partnership
Caldara.
of yeah, Sunkadara. But to me, I think only a striker that I think that they're gonna bring in. I mean, they've been talking about Calafori for a long time, but just give Batazagi that chance. Play him like to me. What I say is like this. Okay, have a strong team. Okay, so say we're playing. Who just came up? Frosinone, right? So we're playing Frosinone. Okay, we put Pulisic on the left wing. We got Okafor on the striker. We got Chukwueze. So we start a strong team, and then you rest Dale. You get Batazagi chance. So if he's with the team, it's gonna be less likely that he makes that many mistakes. And if he makes mistakes, they're gonna be the full team squad there, first starting squad to help him out. That's what I want to see. If he can't perform against Frosinone and all these other relegation teams, then he's not going to be Milan quality. That's what I have a feeling about. We got beat by Torino that played seven Serie C players in the Coppa Italia. That was embarrassing. I was
One of them
pissed.
scored against us. Remember?
Yeah, Adopo is Serie C player. So what makes you think now that we can't give anybody a chance? That's just an excuse now. Rock Nation, John and Shane, that's an excuse that the management can't have no more. Let's build this team. Like, come on now. Why can't Sassuolo play all these young players, sell them, and do it like the thing? I know they have different ambitions, but at least one or two. Say if one or two Primavera comes up, any team, like it'll be cool. What if a Premier League tells us, okay, we want to buy this player for 20 million pounds? Like that would be good. We don't know if we're gonna use them, but we're gonna have some revenue coming in. We're in Serie A where the revenue sucks, and teams like West Ham and like even Luton Town can outbid us for a player because of their TV revenue. So now we gotta get smarter now. We got to get smarter. We got to integrate. Look at Casade. Like I love the kid. I wish I would have spent 40 million on him. To be honest with you, that Gio, you crazy and stuff like he's an Interista. I don't care, but I seen enough from him to know that he's ready. And what are they doing? They're loaning him up to the championship. So hopefully next year they loan him out again, and then with 1 year left, we buy him for like 10 million. But to be honest with you, Rock Nation, I'm looking forward to the season. I have a feeling maybe Pioli stops being stubborn. I'm just praying every day. I don't know if people believe in religion or not. I'm not going to tell you to do, but I'm praying like, come on, Pioli, get it together. But I just want to say thank you guys for having me. I forced my way on here, but I
No,
love speaking.
you're welcome
Me, Rock
anytime.
Nation, I'm dark side now, Rock Nation. They're not telling me nothing. If you're not playing the youth, then F the management, F Cardinale, and F anybody who's backing that. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. So Shane, how about you? Until we got a few more weeks left until things close, and we just got to get down to work and full steam ahead. What else do you think that
Mm.
they have up their sleeves,
Oh
if
yeah,
anything?
there has to be a number 9 coming in. I just don't know where we're going to get the funds from, but there has to be a number 9 for me. Like in an ideal world, I'd say we get a right back. We get obviously backup for Teo, which is more than likely coming. But a number 9 has to be like the priority right now because Okafor, as good as he is, I don't see him in the same mold as Giroud. And I think we just need that, physical, tall number 9. And I don't know where we're going to get the cash from. Mm.
Okay. So John, as we spoke, yeah. So we have about 5 seasons left to judge Pioli, and if he does perform poorly, then it could be just early next month, and he could be gone. Yeah. So what do you think that the management have left for us?
I think you're mad to think that he's going to be gone in 5 games. I think you're including probably the friendlies and the performances in that in the judgment. I think he stays till Christmas. Actually,
Okay.
I don't think because I also think it's a financial decision for our management. I don't think our management does things and then splashes cash. I think I should say ownership. They won't work that way, or just paying out the rest of his contract while someone else comes in. I think they run him for as long as they can, and then they make a decision of cutting. and I think that's around Christmas, January time. That's what my. But again, I think that only happens if he doesn't finish, if he's not in the top 4 by then. And with the squad that we have, if players are played in the correct positions, I genuinely think we should be comfortably in the top 4 in December, January. If you look at the strength of Serie A and the players that we brought in, we should actually be able to overwhelm a lot of teams with our attacking talent. It's a, you think about what Leao did last year on his own, and now you have all that power on the right wing, and potentially you've got a Cam in, I want to believe, Pulisic, who can definitely put a pass together. He can definitely go past people. I've seen enough from him to say that he can make a difference. I generally do think we will be in the top 4 by Christmas, which then, going back to your question, Hasni, I think Pioli stays.
Okay. Well, my take on it is that, yeah, I mean, I tend to be a bit harsher, and I'm definitely not going to forget what happened to Gianpaolo and what he did to the squad. 5 games, not impressive. I think they should be looking for a replacement, really. Whether it happens, yeah, John, you mentioned maybe it might not happen. They might have other plans and say that, okay, it's not his fault many players and yada yada yada. But as always, we got to wish the best for the team. And with that, yeah, thanks to everyone listening. And yeah, I'm glad to have all 4 continents, I think, represented on this stream again. So that's great. And with all the viewers, we had at one point, I think, over 10 viewers watching. So that's another record for the channel. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Yeah, you can, especially thanks to Gio. I brought the star power because
No. I've been wanting, I like the content and the way that this team is playing in the preseason. This is like therapy. You feel me? Like just
yeah.
talking, seeing different things. I mean, yesterday on the Twitter Spaces, they were trying to like defend Pioli with analytics and everything like that. And I'm all like, oh, so analytics can tell you that Pulisic ain't no right wing though. But thank you for having me. I'll push myself to be on the show because I like Shane and I'm on the dark side with Rock Nation husband.
All right,
No,
that's
thanks.
great.
The reason as well why we've been hesitant. So I think myself and Husney started with this thing where we're okay if someone asks, but we didn't want to be kind of the ones that are kind of going, oh, do you want to, you know what I mean? Because we wanted to grow organically. That's the only reason. That, and it took us about 2 weeks of wrangling with Gio's agent just to get him on the show, guys. So
No, but I
Fabio,
think
you're
this is
next.
also an open invitation to anyone on the chat. I mean, if you ever want to, join us, yeah, we'll make time, and doors always open. See Fabio, Liban Yusuf. I don't think I've spoken to you before, but yeah, we've always chatted. Christian, I think he's maybe he's tuned up. Paul, yeah, I've spoken to him a few times on the other channels. So anyone's welcome, and everyone, yeah, and yeah, we look forward to speaking and trading more views on our beloved club. But yeah, you can catch us on Twitter or X, whatever is it they call it. I think Shane's leading the charge on that.
Yeah,
The rest of
hit
the
us up
social
with
media.
a DM if you want to come on. Just DM at Milanista360. Just hit us up on Twitter and I'll definitely get you on. More than happy to, everyone.
Sure, that's great. And as always, yeah, Forza Milan, everyone, and till next time.
Forza Milan.
Forza Milan.
Let's go.
Italia!